Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome back to yet again another Q&A session where you guys have the opportunity to send in your questions pertaining to the Arabic language and receive a reply from myself once a week bi'idhni rabbina azza wa jal. This week the questioner says, how can I become accustomed to reading Arabic without the vowel sounds? Now guys, this is a fundamentally important question. Why? Because oftentimes the student at the beginning stages of his studies becomes accustomed to reading Arabic with the vowel sounds. And as a result, when he moves on to reading books without the vowel sounds or books that contain very few vowels, he finds it somewhat difficult. So I've summarized my 4 tips that will help you bi'idhni rabbina azza wa jal to read without the vowels. Tip number 1. Learn new vocabulary and become familiar with the words. For example, the word bait will always be pronounced as bait. Now the vowel sound at the end of the word is subject to change depending on its function in the sentence. For example, we can say al-baytu jamilun, which means the house is beautiful. We can also say dakhaltu al-bayta, which means I entered the house. Or we can say man fil bayti, who's in the house? As you can see from these 3 examples, the core of the word bait stayed the same in example number 1, number 2, and number 3. However, the endings of each of these words changed depending on its position or its function in the sentence. In example number 1, the word bait ended in a dhamma, al-baytu. In example number 2, the word bait ended in a fatha, al-bayta. And in example number 3, the word al-bayt ended in a kasra, al-bayti. So, whilst the endings of the words are subject to change, the core of the word al-bayt or bait remains the same. So it's imperative that we learn new vocabulary and become familiar with the words. The same is true for the following examples. Matbakh, Bab, Al-Kaaba, Allah, Makkah, Sarir, Sayyara, etc. Tip number 2. Understand the context in which the word appears in the text. This is extremely important to safeguard our understanding. For example, if I asked you, what does this say? The majority of you would say, Baina, which means between. Just like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Hadith Qudsi, قَسَمْتُ الصَّلَاةِ بَيْنِي وَبَيْنَ عَبْدِي نِصْفَيْنِ وَلِعَبْدِ مَا سَأَلْ. However, the word could also be read as bayyana, which means he explained or he clarified. As can be seen in the saying, بَيَّنَ اللَّهُ سُبْحَانَهُ وَتَعَالَى فِي الْقُرْآنِ أَنَّ أَعْظَمَ ذَنْبٍ هُوَ الشِّرْكُ بِاللَّهِ. Another good example of a different word that has the same letters as the previous 2 examples can be seen when you're speaking to the singular masculine, i.e. one male, and you want to explain yourself or clarify yourself. We say bayyin nafsak. Now the word bayyin is the command form of the verb bayyana, which we covered in the previous example. Both words have the ba, the ya, and the noon, but the placements of the vowels on the words change the meaning. So we've covered bayna, bayyana, and bayyin. 3 different words, 3 different meanings, but yet all 3 words share the same letter. So you can see just how important it is to learn the context in which the word appears in the text. Another fantastic example of where understanding the word in the correct context is paramount can be seen with the following example. What does this say? Now the majority would have said قُل, which means say. And this is correct. Just like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ. He also says in the Quran, قُلْ هَلْ يَسْتَوِي الَّذِينَ يَعْلَمُونَ وَالَّذِينَ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. He also says in another place in the Quran, قُلْ هَلْ يَسْتَوِي الْأَعْمَى وَالْبَصِيرُ أَفَلَا تَتَفَكَّرُونَ. However, if you were to read the following sentence, it would be incorrect to pronounce the first word as قُل. Instead, we would say قَلَّ مَنْ يَتَفَكَّرُ فِي الْآخِرَةِ. So we have two words, قُل and قَلَّ. Two different words with the same letters but two different meanings. So from this example, we can see just how important it is to understand the words in the correct context. Tip number 3. Have a comprehensive understanding of Arabic grammar. Having a broad and thorough understanding of Arabic grammar will aid and assist you in pronouncing the endings of the words correctly. It will allow you to distinguish the verb from the noun, the subject of the verb from the object of the verb. It will also allow you to pronounce certain Arabic constructions, such as the relationship between the possessor and the possessed. Also, the relationship between the noun and the adjective. For some, this can be a tedious process, but nonetheless very important. Hey, I guess it's like Marmite. You either like it or you hate it. Tip number 4. Practice reading excessively, preferably with a teacher. As learners of the Arabic language, we're bound to make mistakes reading, writing, speaking and listening, and not understanding. It's for this reason that we strongly advise anybody who wishes to improve his ability to read Arabic without the vowel sounds to read to a teacher. This will enable your teacher to correct you if you make a mistake, and also your teacher will serve as a great source of encouragement for your Arabic development. I hope you've enjoyed and more importantly benefited from today's Q&A session, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.